Our attention to the issue of education and what education looks like now and what it's going to look like after COVID-19. The voices of parents always been very important, but more important now in rebuilding South Africa's education system post-COVID-19. The organisation Parent Power says parents have to now stand for elections and vote in school governing bodies in order to achieve this. National school governing body elections, by the way, they kicked off. They run until the 30th of April. Let's speak to Project Lead at Parent Power. It's Andisiwe Hlungwane joining me this morning. Hello to you, Andisiwe. Good to have you with us here on ENCA. So when we say that parents need to rebuild the education system post-COVID-19, what do you mean by that?
Good morning, Gareth, and good morning to your viewers. So I think one of the key things that we believe as Parent Power is that parents are the first educators of their children, and therefore they really need to champion their children's education. And I think one of the key ways to do that is by really speaking on behalf of their children. And these SGB elections play a key role in doing that, right? I think that because SGBs really are the governance of schools, and this opportunity comes every 3 years, it's a key time for parents to have their voices heard and making sure that they actually elect the right people to govern over schools and ensure that the right policies are in place over the next 3 years.
Why do you think it hasn't been done properly in the past? Obviously, you've highlighted the problem. You've obviously identified the issues. Can you give me maybe an example of where practically this would have caused a problem for a child or a school?
So I think one of the things that has really that is really worrying about the SGB elections. So I think it's important to highlight that these are the fourth biggest elections in the country. It's like the most democratic, the most localized form of democracy in our country on paper. And one of the worrying things is that the voter turnout is very low in schools when it comes to SGB elections. And on top of that as well, the level of corruption and just lack of really accountability within schools when it comes to SGBs is a very big problem that we've experienced over the past 2 years. So I think that much like the national elections, provincial elections, and local elections, it's a right for us to vote, but it's also a responsibility because then we're electing the right people into the place, but also we play that role of holding the people accountable. So I think one of the areas where there's been a big problem is around the voting the right people into the positions, people with integrity, but then also really holding them accountable. And it's like the parents need to understand that this is where their power really lies, is electing the right people, but also holding them accountable during the 3 years of governance. So I think that the problem has been around the accountability aspect.
One of the issues has always been with parents getting involved in schooling as well is that it's often very time-consuming, isn't it, as well? And especially during COVID-19, some parents have lost jobs, some parents have taken on extra jobs just to keep their kids in school, whether it's online or actually going to a physical building if they can. And I suppose that's always been the problem, hasn't it, Andisiwe, that parents do want the best for their kids, but they shouldn't have to now hold the hands of schools and tell them how to do their jobs.
Yes, so I think that one of the things that we sort of have around the participation of parents in schools is a very narrow understanding of that. And that's often like you have to do the homework of the children, or you have to show up for sports and all of those things. But I think what we believe as Parent Power is that love and support plays a key part in parents really playing that role. So really supporting your child at home in the sense of providing them with love and support. But also when it comes to accountability, I just think that school is it's a public good. So education is a public good, and it's only as good as we demand it. So much like any other public good or many other public goods, we have to play that accountability role, right? We have to play that role of actually demanding and using our voices to say we demand better. That's where I think we sort of stand on that. So it's not necessarily holding the school's hands, but it's making sure that you are there to sort of hold them accountable and demand what is best for your child.
As your website says, building the identity of parents as powerful and key participants in the education of their own children. Andisiwe, thank you very much indeed. I enjoyed speaking to you this morning. Thanks for joining us here on ENCA.